Hello everyone, thank you very much for watching this video. Unfortunately, my team couldn't be with you today. However, we decided to share this video with you explaining our topic. So to begin with, let me share this slideshow. And the topic we are going to present is called in-text citation. Okay, my team is composed by Maria and myself, Irving. So in-text citation, let's create the concept of this title. So in-text citation actually means that we are going to write other authors' ideas in our research or in our written research or in our text, okay? And we have two ways to do this. So the first way is going to be called like direct quotation, which means that we are going to take the idea of the original idea of the author and we are going to write the idea as it is in our research, okay, without changing the words. Yeah. For that, we also need quotation marks at the beginning of the sentence or the idea and at the end of the idea also. Okay. The other way is called paraphrasing, which means that we are going to take the author's idea. However, we are going to explain that idea using our words. Okay. In this situation, we don't need quotation marks. So for doing this, we have general rules, and we are going to see the basic general rules because we don't want to waste a lot of time. So we have two ways, yes, referring an idea, which is paraphrasing and direct quoting. Okay, when we are going to paraphrase another author's idea, we need to put or we need to write the name of the author and the year, such as in the example. Okay, the first example is referring an idea. So over here, all this is the idea we paraphrased, yeah, and until the end, we write the author's names and also the year, okay, in parentheses. Okay, we have different structures to make this type of quotations, okay, to quoting. Yeah, for example, it could be like this at the end or like this. We put the author, then we put the year, okay, and then we write the idea. We paraphrase the idea, okay. Then we also have a direct quoting. In this situation, we need to write the author names, the year, and the page where we found the information. Okay, we have to remember that it's mandatory to put quotation marks at the beginning and at the end of the idea. So over here, this one is one example. Okay, we put or we write the name or names of the authors, the year, and between quotation marks, we write the idea as it is without changing the words. And finally, we write also the page where we found the information. Another example is this one, okay? It's another type of a structure where we put the author, okay, the name of the author, then we put the year, and also we put the page where we found the information. And finally, well, in between quotation marks, the idea as it is. Now, uh, when we talk about direct quotation, we have to take into account the length. So for that, we have short quotations that, which means that we're going to write less than 40 words. And well, it's exactly as I showed you before. We have to put the author, year, and page, and we write between quotation marks, such as in the first example, okay, the idea of the author. But also we have long quotations. Okay, long quotations means that we're going to write more than 40 words. Okay, so when we write more than 40 words, when we have a long quotation, we have to follow a format which is that it has to be indented a half ink margin and also double spacing. And then we have to write, as in other quotations, the name of the author, the year, and the page. So it's going to be represent more or less like the second example, okay? Over here, we have between quotation marks The idea, as you can see, is more than 40 words. Okay, so it's going to, or it looks different than the normal writing. So it has to be something like this. Okay, when we do long quotations. Now, to end with my part, I'm going to explain that we have also indirect quotes. Indirect quotes means, for example, that we find an idea in one research. Okay, we take that idea, but that idea is not the original idea of the author where we found that information. Okay, so that means that it's not the original author, so we have to do an indirect quote. So an indirect quote is going to have also the name of the author, okay, where we found the information, the author of the research, okay, the year and the page, but we have to put, or we have to write also this expression as cited in, yeah, and that means that this is an indirect quote, that we take the citation of someone else's work but not from the original author. Okay, we have another example here. Okay, we have the author, the year, we have the expression as sitting in, the name of the author, where we found the idea, the year, and finally the page where we found that idea. Okay, so that's an indirect quotation. Okay, indirect quotes. So now it's going to be my partner who is going to continue talking about in-text citation. All these examples, we took them from this research that is called WhatsApp voice note in speaking class. Okay, so thank you very much, and we continue.
Hello everyone, now it's my turn, and I'm going to talk to you about the section author and authors, which is the different representations of authors that you can find in research papers and the proper way of citing them when you're writing your research report. I tried to make this subject as short as possible because there was lots of information available. Okay, for example, if you have a work by one author, you have to write the name of the author plus the date. For example, here, Gardner, 1985 in parentheses, or you can write, for example, according to Gardner, 1985 in parentheses, and then the, I don't know, educational model, blah, blah, blah. For example, and then we continue. A work by two authors. We have the name of one author and the name of the second author plus the date, like in the way it's presented here in the example. But if you want to write all in parentheses at the end of the quote, uh, you have to use the ampersand, which is the and sign. If we have three or more authors, you have to write the name of one author plus et al., which comes from the Latin expression et ali, which means and others, plus the date, like here in the example. But they recommend that if you want to avoid ambiguity, you can write the name of all the authors. And then if you have an unknown author, you have to write the title of the research paper plus the date. For example, here, L2 learning challenges and needs of university students. This is the only section of the authors that includes examples because there were lots of representations of authors. Now, let's move on. More authors. Organization as an author. If you have the organization as an author, you have to write the name of the organization plus a date. If you have two or more works in the same parenthesis, you have to write the author, the name of the author plus the date, a semicolon, the name of the second author plus the date of publication of the second work. Okay. Here we have authors with the same last name. If we have two or more authors with the same last name, you have to write the initial of the author as well, not only the last name. For example, E. Johnson and the date of publication of its work. And if we have the second author with the same last name, we have to write, for example, O. Johnson and the other date. Okay. If we have two or more works by the same author in the same year, you have to classify the different works with letters, for example, work A, work B, and work C. And when you want to make the citation, you have to write the author, the date, and the letter of the word that you assign to the work you're referring to. Personal communication, which is when you obtain information with someone that hasn't published any articles yet, maybe from an interview, or maybe you ask, I don't know, for a specific topic only, and then you have to write the initial, the last name, the words personal communication, and the full date. I mean, uh, the day, month, and year. And if it's traditional knowledge of indigenous people, you have to write almost the same information as in personal communication, but you have to add the indigenous group and the location and any other relevant information about the person. Okay, and then we have indirect sources. It's when you find sources in different research papers, and then you have to cite the author, which was already cited in the same research paper. So you have to write as it shows here, as cited in, and the author and the date. And finally, we have here unknown author and unknown date. You have to write the title of the paper plus ND, which means no date, and then sources without page number. If the source of information does not have a page number, you have to write the author, the date, the heading of the section or chapter, and the number of paragraph. Instead of writing the P and the number, you have to write para, dot, and the number of the paragraph. Well, then we have the reference. The examples I showed on my screen were from the article L2 Learning Challenges and Needs of University Students. Here's the DOI in case you want to find out more about this. Thank you so much. Goodbye.